Ben wiped the sweat from his forehead and stepped out of the dusty repair shed. The twin suns of planet Veras burned overhead, making the sand glow like fire. His workshop sat in the middle of a wide desert, surrounded by red cliffs and silence. No towns, no people, just machines, wires, and endless repairs. It was the life of a contract engineer. Lonely, but peaceful. He sipped water from his flask and looked up at the sky. His eyes squinting behind dusty goggles, a streak of light flashed across the horizon. At first, he thought it was just a meteor, but it didn't break apart. It got brighter, faster dot, then it roared past overhead, shaking the ground. A sharp boom echoed through the air. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship. Ben dropped the flask and ran inside. He turned on his radar console and traced the object. It had crashed. 20 clicks eased right into the sand dunes. The signal was weak but still active. Ship still alive, he muttered. He grabbed his toolkit, tossed it into his rover, and jumped in. The engine coughed, then roared to life. With a puff of sand, he drove off toward the smoke rising in. The distance dot, it took Ben nearly an hour to reach the crash site. The sand grew deeper, and the smoke grew thicker. As he crested a dune, he stopped and stared. The ship was small, sleek, and shaped like a blade. Black metal shimmered under the burning sun. Parts of it were torn open, and one wing had snapped. Strange purple fluid dripped from the hull. It wasn't built by humans. This was alien tech, clearly advanced. Ben approached carefully. "Hello," he called out. "Anyone alive in there?" No answer. Just the crackle of heat and sparks. He climbed up the side and looked into the broken cockpit. His breath caught. Inside was a woman, pale-skinned, silver-haired, and unconscious. Blood, black and glossy, stained her side. Her body was thin but strong, dressed in strange armor, and her face beautiful, but fierce, was twisted in pain. Her lips were slightly open, revealing sharp fangs. Ben's heart raced. "She's one of them," he whispered. "A Noctari." He had heard stories, vampire-like aliens who lived in the shadows of space, rare, secretive, dangerous. But right now, she didn't look dangerous. She looked hurt. Ben hesitated. He could leave, call the outpost patrol, but something inside told him not to. She was alive, and she needed help. "I hope this isn't a mistake," he muttered. He pulled her out of the wreckage, careful with her injured side. She was cold to the touch, but her chest still moved. He loaded her into the back of his rover and sped back to his workshop. Back at the outpost, Ben laid the alien woman on a cot in his med bay. The room was clean, full of scanners, tools, and first aid supplies. She didn't wake as he worked. He used his basic medical scanner to check her vitals, unfamiliar readings, but still within life range. He cleaned the wound on her side. The blood was thick, but it didn't clot like human blood. Her bones seemed denser. Her skin was nearly impossible to cut with a scalpel. Whatever she was, her body wasn't ordinary. After stabilizing her, Ben stepped back and sat in the corner. He kept a blaster on his lap just in case. Hours passed. Night came, and the desert cooled. Suddenly, her eyes opened bright red, glowing in the dark. She sat up fast, her eyes locking on Ben. He raised his hands. "Easy, you crashed. I pulled you out." She looked around, tense and silent. Her gaze moved to the door, then back to him. Her lips moved slightly. "Where am I?" Her voice was low and smooth, but weak. "My outpost, planet Veras. You fell from the sky." She stared at him. "You are human." "Yeah, names." "Ben, engineer." She looked down at her wound, then at the scanner near her. "You treated me?" Ben nodded. "Did my best. Not exactly trained for aliens." She narrowed her eyes. "Why?" Ben gave a small shrug. "Didn't want to let you die." Silence. Then, slowly, she leaned back against the wall. Her breathing was slow. "I do not trust humans." "Understandable," Ben said, leaning back. "Too. Most folks don't trust Noctari either." That made her blink. "You know what I am. Just stories, myths, space vampires, right?" She said nothing. Ben stood. "You should rest. I'll check your ship in the morning. Maybe I can." Fix it. You would repair my ship, she asked, her voice sharp. If I can. That's what I do. Again, silence. Finally, she whispered, My name is Vera. Ben smiled. Nice to meet you, Vera. The next morning, Ben walked to the crash site again. The sun was harsh, but he needed to examine the ship. Inside, the damage was worse than expected. Power systems fried. Navigation offline. And the Corin organic crystal engine was cracked. This'll take weeks, he muttered still. He took notes. He didn't have alien parts, but maybe he could substitute them with human tech. It would be rough, but maybe not impossible. That night, Vera sat in his workshop, watching as Ben sketched diagrams on a screen. You risk much by helping me, she said. Ben looked over his shoulder. Maybe. But I fix broken things. You and your ship both count. She tilted her head. You are different. He chuckled. I get that a lot. She stood slowly and moved closer to the screen. Her eyes scanned the plans. You are not as simple as I thought. Ben smiled. Neither are you. They looked at each other for a long moment, and just like that, the first thread of trust began to form, quiet and thin, but real. Ben worked. In silence, the software of machines filling his workshop. Blueprints glowed on the screen in front of him, showing the broken systems of Vera's ship. He scribbled notes, trying to understand the alien tech, every wire, every piece of strange metal, every flickering signal. It was all new. But Ben loved the challenge. Vera stood near the door, watching. She hadn't left the outpost in days. Her wound was healing quickly for a human. The black lines of dried blood had already faded. She didn't ask for food or water. She simply observed, silent, unreadable. Still, Ben didn't push her. He kept talking while he worked, even if she didn't always respond. Your power source runs on something organic, he said, pointing at the diagram. I've never seen tech like this. It's like your ship is half alive. She finally spoke. It is. The core breathes, grows, repairs itself unless the crystal is cracked. Ben raised an eyebrow. And it is cracked. Yes. He turned to face her. Can it be replaced? No, she said simply. That kind of crystal only grows. On my homeworld, it takes 50 years to form. Ben let out a low whistle. Then we'll have to think of something else. You are wasting time, Vera said. Ben shrugged. I've got plenty of it. Vera looked at him, confused. You? Help me? Without reward. Without knowing me. Why? Ben leaned on the table and thought for a moment. Because I've been alone for years. He said honestly, and I don't like watching someone suffer if I can help. She stared at him, eyes glowing softly. Then she nodded once. Later that evening, Ben brought out a small cooking device and heated a meal pack. He sat at the table, slowly eating while Vera stood by the window. You don't eat, he said between bites. Don't drink. You just stare. I do not need food, she replied. Then what do you live on? Vera was silent. Ben looked up. Blood. She didn't answer. But the look in her eyes said yes. He swallowed. Do you need it now? No. I took what I needed before the crash. From someone? Vera closed her eyes. Yes, a willing donor? On a neutral station. Ben nodded slowly. So it's not like the stories. You don't attack people. She looked at him sharply. Not unless I must. I'm not judging. Ben said quickly. I've met worse things than blood drinkers out here. Vera's expression softened. Most humans fear what they don't understand. I'm not most humans, Ben said, grinning. She didn't smile, but her voice softened. I see. The next morning, Ben brought her to the hangar where he kept old ship parts. The place was dusty, filled with engines, wires, metal sheets, and broken machines stacked to the ceiling. You built all this alone? Vera asked. Ben nodded slowly. Sounds familiar? You've seen War II. He gave a short laugh. Not the kind you have. But yeah, people turning on each other, fighting for power. Same story in every star system. She looked at him, then quietly said, I didn't expect to survive the crash. When I woke up, I thought I was your prisoner. Ben looked at her seriously. I don't keep prisoners. Vera looked down. I know that now. As the sun began to set, they tested the rebuild drive. The engines hummed, louder than before. The systems blinked to life, smoother than any day before. "It's working," Ben said with a grin. Vera placed her hand on the control panel. She closed her eyes. The ship pulsed beneath her fingers, alive again. Slowly, she turned to him. "You've done more for me than anyone ever has," she said. Ben shrugged. "That's what friends do." She blinked. "Friends?" He nodded. "If that's okay." She didn't smile, but she stepped closer. "You may call me that," she said. And for the first time, she reached out and touched his shoulder. Just lightly, just once. But it meant everything. The outpost was quiet that morning. A pale light crept over the desert horizon, painting the sand in soft gold. Ben stood in his workshop, tightening bolts on the newly rebuilt jump drive. The engine hummed steadily, the best it had sounded since the crash. Vera sat nearby, silent as always, but Ben noticed her eyes flickering with something he hadn't seen before in ease. "I need to test the power flow again," Ben said. "If the core can handle this jump, we might be able to get you home soon." She nodded slowly, but didn't say anything. Suddenly, an alarm blared from the outpost entrance. Ben's heart jumped. He grabbed his blaster and raced toward the door. Outside, 3 figures stepped from the shadows of the desert cliffs. They were armed and wearing dark armor. Their faces were hidden behind visors. But Ben recognized the cold, calculated movements of mercenaries of Vera. One of them called, voice harsh and metallic. "You're coming with us." Ben's blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "We're here for the Noctari," the mercenary said. "And you?" Vera's eyes flashed red. She stood tall, ready to fight. Ben stepped in front of her. "Not while I'm here." The mercenaries advanced. Ben raised his blaster and fired a warning shot into the air. The leader snarled and nodded. Double quotes, "Fine. Fight if you want." Vera moved faster than Ben could see. In a blink, she was behind the first mercenary, knocking him off balance with a powerful strike. She was strong and fast, much faster than any human. Ben fired at the others, aiming to disable, not kill. His heart pounded. This wasn't a battle he expected, but he was ready. They fought through the outpost, knocking over tables and sending sparks flying. Ben used his knowledge of the place to set traps, loose wires, oil spills, and sudden bursts of steam. Vera's movements were like lightning, a blur of silver hair and red eyes. She grabbed one mercenary, throwing him hard against the wall. But the mercenaries were skilled and well-armed. One grabbed a stun baton and hit Ben's arm, sending a painful shock through his body. He stumbled back, dropping his blaster. Vera growled and charged at the attacker. She knocked the baton away, then held the mercenary in a tight grip. Her eyes glowed bright red as she whispered something Ben couldn't understand. The mercenary collapsed, unconscious. Ben winced, clutching his arm. The pain was sharp and burning. Vera noticed and quickly moved to his side. "You are hurt." Ben shook his head. "I'm fine. Just a shock." She looked worried. "You should rest." Ben smiled weakly. "I'm not done yet." They fought side by side, defending the outpost from the mercenaries' attacks. Ben used every trick he knew, setting off alarms to confuse, sealing doors, and calling an emergency. Power surges. Vera's strength and speed were unmatched. She disarmed one attacker, then used a powerful kick to send another flying out the door. After what felt like hours, the mercenaries retreated, disappearing into the desert. Ben sank to the ground, breathing hard. Vera knelt beside him. "You saved me." Ben shook his head. "No, we saved each other." That night, Ben's arm was wrapped in bandages. The pain had lessened, but his strength was weak. Vera sat beside the small fire in the corner, watching him carefully. Suddenly, she stood and moved to a locked cabinet. She pulled out a small vial filled with thick, glowing red liquid. Ben looked at it, confused. "What is that?" "My blood," she said quietly. His eyes widened. "Why do you have that?" "It has healing power," Vera explained. "It can mend wounds and restore strength. But it is rare to give." Ben looked at his injured arm. The pain still throbbed. "Will it work on me?" he asked. Vera nodded. It will, but it will create a bond. Ben hesitated. A bond it connects the giver and the receiver. Stronger than friendship. Ben thought for a moment. The pain was getting worse. He trusted Vera, and if her blood could help him fight when the next attack came, he had no choice. Do it, he said. Vera carefully uncorked the vial and held it to his lips. He drank slowly. The liquid was warm and slightly sweet, almost like fire running through his veins. Almost immediately, he felt the pain ease. His strength returned. But then, strange images flashed in his mind, memories of Vera's past. Her battles, her loneliness. He saw through her eyes for a moment. Vera watched him closely. How do you feel? Ben blinked, catching his breath. Strange, like I'm part of you now. Yes, she said softly. The bond is real. Ben smiled weakly. That's kind of amazing. Vera looked away, shy for the first time. It is rare to trust. Ben reached out, touching her hand lightly. Maybe we don't need to be afraid anymore. She looked at him and nodded. The next day, Ben worked with renewed energy, his wounds healing, his mind clear. Together, they prepared the ship for the next stage. We have little time, Vera said. More will come. Ben nodded. We'll be ready. They worked side by side, a team now, bound by more than just repairs. The sun had just begun to set, casting long orange shadows across the outpost. Ben and Vera worked side by side, fitting the final parts onto her ship. The engine hummed smoothly now, and the ship's body gleamed under the fading light. Ben wiped sweat from his brow. This might just fly. Vera nodded, almost ready. Suddenly, the quiet hum of the desert was broken by the low rumble of engines. Ben's heart skipped a beat. They're here, Vera said, eyes narrowing, from the horizon. A small squad of sleek ships landed near the outpost, the mercenaries from before, but more of them armed and ready. Ben grabbed his blaster. We have to protect the ship. Vera's eyes flashed red. I will fight. The mercenaries stepped out, weapons drawn. Their leader, a tall figure in black armor, called out, Vera Noctari, surrender now. Your blood belongs to us. Ben growled, stepping forward. Not while I'm here. Vera moved beside him, her body tense but calm. We will not go quietly. The battle began. Ben ducked behind a stack of crates, firing at incoming enemies. His blaster bolts hit shields, but some found their marks. He was quick but outnumbered. Vera moved like a shadow, fast, strong, deadly. She disarmed one mercenary with a swift kick, then took down another with a powerful punch. Her silver hair flew as she dodged and struck. Ben set off traps he had prepared earlier, wires that sparked, makeshift mines that exploded with bursts of flame. The outpost became a battlefield. One mercenary aimed a plasma rifle at Vera. She reacted instantly, moving faster than the eye could see. She grabbed the weapon's barrel, twisting it until it cracked. The attacker stumbled back, shocked. Ben saw an opening and charged, tackling another mercenary to the ground. The fight was brutal, but careful. Neither side wanted death, only capture. Suddenly, Ben felt a sharp pain in his leg. A stun dart had hit him. He collapsed, struggling to stay conscious. Vera was at his side instantly. She hissed and faced the attacker, moving with terrifying speed. She knocked him down, then turned back to Ben. Stay with me, she said urgently. Ben nodded weakly. Vera placed her hands on his leg, and a warm red glow spread from her palms. The pain eased, the stun effect fading quickly. How? Ben whispered. My blood, she said simply. The battle raged on, but with renewed strength. Ben stood. Together, they pushed the mercenaries back. One by one, the attackers fled, leaving the outpost in ruins but safe. Ben looked around. The place was damaged, but their fight had saved Vera's ship. That night, the fire burned low. Ben sat, exhausted but alive. Vera watched him quietly. You risked yourself, she said softly. Ben smiled. You do the same for me. She nodded. I don't want to lose you. Ben looked at her, surprised. We are bonded now, she said, through blood and battle. Ben reached out, taking her hand. We face what comes. Together, the desert wind whispered outside, carrying a promise. The sun rose slowly over the desert, casting light on the broken ground where the battle had taken place. Smoke still curled from the edges of the outpost. Burned metal, torn walls, and cracked tools lay scattered across the sand. Ben stood near the hangar door, looking out. His legs still ached slightly, but the pain was nothing compared to the feeling in his chest, the knowledge that more enemies could come, and next time they might not leave. Behind him, the hum of power grew stronger. Vera's ship, once a silent wreck, was now alive again. She stepped out from under the ship's belly, her armor patched, her silver hair tied back. Her eyes were serious, glowing faintly in the shadows. "It's ready," she said. Ben turned. The ship, Vera nodded. "The engines are stable. The core is accepting the new power design. I can leave this planet now." Ben didn't smile. He just looked at her. "You're leaving today." She didn't speak for a moment. "If I stay, they will return, stronger, with more weapons. You are not safe as long as I am here." Ben lowered his eyes. "And what if I came with you?" Vera looked at him, startled. "You wish to come?" Ben nodded. "You said we're bonded. I helped fix your ship. We fought together. I don't think I can go back to being alone again. Not after this." She stepped closer. "My world is different. Not all will welcome a human. Some will fear you. Others will want to test you." Ben smiled faintly. "Sounds like most places I've been. I cannot promise peace." "I'm not asking for peace," Ben said. "I'm asking for purpose. For something more than sand and silence." Vera studied him. Her gaze was sharp, but her voice had softened. "I trust you," she said. "You gave without asking. You fought without fear. If you come, you become part of my path. There is no turning back." Ben didn't hesitate. "Then I'm coming." They spent the next few hours preparing the ship. Vera checked each system while Ben packed his few belongings, a small toolkit, a photo of his family, a faded book, and a handmade journal filled with designs and sketches. He stood one last time outside the outpost, looking over the land that had been his home for years. Dry winds passed over the cliffs, moving the sand like waves in the sea. "Goodbye," he whispered. Inside the ship, the cockpit was narrow but elegant. The controls shimmered with soft red and blue lights. Organic designs curved across the walls. Pulsing gently with energy, Vera sat in the pilot's seat, her fingers dancing across the panel. Ben took the seat beside her. "You sure this thing won't fall apart?" She gave him a rare, small smile. "Not unless you wired something wrong." Ben laughed. "Hey, I only made 3 mistakes. 4, tops." The engines came to life, humming deep and steady. The ground trembled as dust and wind kicked up round the ship. "Ready?" she asked. Ben nodded. "Let's fly." The ship lifted off smoothly, rising into the sky like a dark bird. The outpost grew smaller below them until it vanished beneath clouds of dust. Ben stared out the window as the desert became a golden blur. His heart beat faster, not with fear, but excitement. He was leaving everything behind, but it felt right. Vera glanced at him. "You're quiet." "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About how this might be the best choice I've ever made." She didn't reply, but her hand brushed against his on the console. Just a brief touch. They left the planet's atmosphere in minutes. Stars filled the black sky above, more than Ben had ever seen. Vera adjusted a dial and spoke to the ship in her language. The core responded with a soft pulse. "We're entering deep space," she said. "I've masked our trail. We won't be followed easily." Ben looked ahead. "Where now?" "There's a hidden station near the moons of Ralna," she explained. "It's quiet, neutral territory. A place where no one asks questions." He nodded. "Sounds perfect." As they entered warp space, the stars stretched into long lines. The ship hummed with gentle energy. Ben leaned back in his seat. "Tell me something," he said. "Why did you trust me?" Vera looked at him. "I didn't. Not at first. And now I do," she said. "Because you gave me your time, your hands, your mind, and your heart." Ben felt warmth spread through his chest. "We're not so different." "No," she said. "Not anymore." They reached the station after several hours. It hovered near a pale moon. Hidden by thick shadows and energy fields, old ships floated. Nearby, some abandoned, others alive with soft lights. Vera landed her ship quietly in a dark hangar. As the engines cooled, Ben looked around at the strange alien design. Feels like I stepped into a dream. Vera looked at him. This is only the beginning. They stepped out together. Inside the station, the lights were dim and red. Tall figures passed silently, cloaked in long robes. No one spoke. No one stared. But Ben could feel the tension in the air. Vera walked with confidence. She belonged here. Ben stayed close, watching everything. They reached a private room, small, clean, quiet. This is where we rest, Vera said. Tomorrow, I will speak with someone I trust. Then we'll decide what comes next. Ben sat on the edge of the bench. What if they don't accept me? Then we leave, she said. You are not alone. He looked up at her. And you? I have never had a bond like this, she whispered. You gave me more than help. You gave me something I had forgotten. What? Hope. That night, Ben couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking of everything that had happened, how a falling ship had changed his life, how a strange, quiet woman had opened his world. He turned toward her. She sat still, eyes open in the dark. Do you ever sleep? He asked. No, she replied. But I could rest near someone I trust. Ben smiled. Then rest. She stepped closer and sat beside him. No words, no movement, just silence and warmth and the quiet hum of the ship's heart. And in that moment, between stars and shadows, they weren't human and Noctari anymore. They were just two souls together. Ben woke up to a soft sound like air moving through old tunnels. He opened his eyes slowly. The room was dim, lit by a single red light above the door. Vera was already awake, standing near the control screen on the wall. Good morning, he said. She turned. You slept well. Ben stretched and sat up. This place is too quiet, but I think I needed that. Vera looked over her shoulder. We have a meeting today. Someone who may help us stay hidden. Ben stood and grabbed his jacket. Do I need to act like a bodyguard? She shook her head. Just stay beside me. That's enough. The halls of the station were still quiet as they walked. Long pipes ran through the ceiling. Doors opened silently as they passed, strange looking. Aliens moved around them, tall, short, some with glowing eyes, others with no faces at all. None of them spoke. Ben stayed close to Vera, trusting her calm pace and strong presence. They reached a circular room with a tall figure waiting at the center. He wore a dark blue cloak with symbols etched along the edge. His face was partly covered, but his eyes glowed bright orange. Vera, he said, it's been a long time. Vera nodded. Corn. Ben stood quietly, watching. Corn looked at him. And this is the human. This is Ben, Vera said. He saved my life. He repaired my ship. He's with me now. Corn stepped closer to Ben. His eyes studied him carefully. You bonded with a Noctari? Ben kept his voice steady. She was alone. So was I. We helped each other. Corn gave a slow nod. Few would take that risk. I've learned that doing the right thing isn't always safe, Ben replied. Corn smiled faintly. You may survive longer than I thought. They sat around a round table. Corn tapped a screen and showed a galaxy map. Red zones lit up across the stars. The Empire is watching the border systems, he said. They know Vera is alive. They're searching. Ben leaned forward. They'll come here. Not directly, Corn answered. But if Vera sends any signal, any message to home, they'll find it. Vera stared at the map. I need to disappear. Corn looked at her. There's one option. The deep moons of Theron 4. No government. No law. But also, no safety. Ben asked, can we survive there? Vera answered. We've already survived worse. After the meeting, they returned to the ship. Ben sat on the ramp, looking at the empty hangar. Do you think this Corn guy trusts us? He asked. Vera stood beside him. He does not trust easily, but he respects strength, and he respects truth. Ben smiled a little. Then I guess we passed. Vera sat next to him. You have a choice, Ben. This life is dangerous. We'll never have peace. We'll always run. Always hide. He looked at her. And you? I've never had peace, she said softly. But with you, I've felt something close. Ben stared ahead at the stars beyond the hangar. My whole life I worked with machines. Fixed broken things. But I never fixed myself. I think meeting you changed that. Vera said nothing, but gently reached out and held his hand. No words were needed. Later that night, they prepared the ship to leave again. The ship's lights glowed steady and bright. Ben checked the panels while Vera calibrated the flight core. The hangar doors opened slowly, revealing the stars beyond. This time, Ben said, "Let's pick where we go." Vera looked over. Theron 4 is dangerous. So are we. He grinned. She allowed herself a rare smile. True. As the ship lifted, the station faded behind them. They passed asteroid fields, old wrecks, drifting satellites. The ship sailed smoothly, guided by two hands, now one alien, one human. Ben leaned back in his chair. So what do we do when we reach Theron 4? We find a place to hide the ship, she replied. We trade for supplies. We stay quiet. Ben thought for a moment. You think they'll ever stop looking for you? No, she said simply. But if we stay moving, we can stay free. Ben nodded. I'm all right with that. Days passed as they traveled. Ben adjusted more of the ship's systems, slowly blending human tech with alien design. It became something new, something both of them had built together. Vera spent time teaching him her language, her history. Ben taught her about Earth tools, old music, and strange food from survival packs. They didn't speak much about the past, but the silence between them was no longer empty. It was full of understanding. On the 6th day, they arrived at Theron 4. The moon was covered in blue mist and deep valleys. Broken towers stood like bones along the cliffs. They landed in a hidden cave near an abandoned station. The area was quiet, no signals, no life. Ben stepped out and looked around. Nice view. Vera joined him. This will do for now. They set up basic defenses and hid the ship under camouflage netting. For the first time in days, they both slept deeply. One evening, after setting up lights around the cave, Ben sat beside a small fire. Vera came and sat next to him. She wore a long cloak now, the symbol of her house stitched into the collar. I was supposed to die alone, she said quietly. That's what they wanted. But I didn't. Ben looked at her. Because your ship crashed? No, she replied. Because I met you, he smiled. Guess I'm hard to get rid of. Vera's voice softened. You are more than that. She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small metal ring, a bonding token from her world. She handed it to him. In Noctari tradition, this is given once, only once. Ben held it carefully. And you're giving it to me? She nodded. He didn't speak for a long time, then finally said, I don't know what kind of future we'll have, but I know I want it with you. Vera reached out and took his hand. Then the bond is complete. The fire crackled softly. Above them, stars blinked silently across the sky. Two souls, one human. One alien sat together at the edge of the galaxy. Not lost, not hunted, just together. And that was enough.